Hey, good morning, everybody. It's 9:06, and we should be comporting ourselves with a little more dignity. The congressman's here.
He's on.
You
Get
guys
this.
are really cutting back. Do we have water at least?
It's funny you should say that because yes, we are, and no, we don't.
Right there.
Oh wait, no, we have a water. We have water.
We have water.
Wait a minute. Is that a used water bottle?
It is not a used water bottle. We have coffee. We got coffee ready. You were yawning earlier.
You
want some coffee?
you stole this water.
Like Chevy Chase and Caddyshack
did.
when he's putting
But it
the
sure is
cap
now.
back on the Perrier. Whoa, a little carbonated. That's fine. I noticed your Secret Service guys kind of gave me the eyeball when I handed you that water is untainted. I can promise you. The Congressman Ken McCarthy is joining us on the program, and here's the thing: those of us who
We'll get to traffic and the weather later.
We'll do that
nothing
later.
much is going on there. And all that.
Kevin
Yeah,
McCarthy's in
absolutely.
town, and that's a big deal. And when if you've known him long enough to have helped him take his couch from R&D,
That's right.
help him load it up in the pickup truck. I swear to God, I'd have never foreseen you having security people sitting around with the earpieces and talking into their wrists.
No, me either.
It just doesn't seem like you.
No.
Not that you don't deserve it. It comes with a job. I get all that. It just doesn't seem like you just don't seem like a big security detail guy.
No, it's like living in prison. But they're great. They're great people. But everyone thought, oh,
Yeah,
wouldn't that be really cool?
How could they take that wrong? Hey, being with you guys
Yeah,
is
being like.
No, it's not them
They pat
personally.
you down when you come out of the
it's
bathroom.
like
and that kind of
Rikers
thing.
Island out here.
No, okay, think about it. I remember this one time I was going through the airport coming back, my brother and I from Chicago. And so they're around us, and then they've got the security from the airport, and I'm wheeling my luggage, and I hear somebody say, shouldn't those two be in handcuffs?
Wow.
Wow. Well,
Wow.
probably.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the stand down in a minute, but the one thing I give you a lot of credit for when you're not around, this is a congressman's job. I mean, you got to do what you got to do and represent us in the Congress and all that stuff. But stuff like this Valley Fever event,
Yes.
most people, if you go out on the floor of the Senate or whatever and start talking about Valley Fever, they're going to look at you like people don't know what that is.
No, and when I got there, there's so many before me that have done so much work on this. We lost Dr. Larwood. He's done tremendous. Dr. Einstein, amazing what those two have done. But the difficulty here, Valley Fever does not happen around the world. It's an orphan disease in the manner of which it is. So it's Arizona and California, just certain sections. So when I got there, I thought we should refocus, look a different way of being able to battle this. So I put a little group together from those members in that area, and we got the CDC and NIH, National Institute of Health, to come here, the directors, to Bakersfield. And we put on a symposium of 2 days. And what's most amazing to them, these are the top doctors of the nation. And they're looking at this, and they know of Valley Fever, but when they looked at the faces of the young kids to the older ones, it didn't matter your wealth, didn't matter the color of your skin, the effect that it had on them. They turned to me, just in the first half of the day, and they said, we've got to do something about this. So transferring from that, one of the elements that we wanted to do was to get a trial. We have never in all these years found the best way to treat somebody with Valley Fever, and that's what you want to start with. So that trial is starting from that symposium in 2013, and they awarded millions of dollars to do this. We're in the process of doing it. So today at KMC, which is one of the elements of going through, we are going to announce it, and we'll have NIH and CDC here talking about it. Because when it comes to flu season, most people think they just have the flu, and a great number of them have Valley Fever. So we want you to come in, be part of this, be part of the trial. It will help generations to come, but it's the first step of us going to the next one and the next one and getting a vaccine.
And that's the big trick to this, because let's face it, nobody at a big pharmaceutical company, it doesn't pencil out.
Pencil out with.
There's not enough people that get it to make it profitable. That's why there's got to be the government's got to come up with a way to help out with this research part.
We got to see if fluconazole is the best way to treat somebody with it. But right now, people treat it different manners. We want to put science behind it. And this is the first step. It's a great step forward, and so many in this community have done so much on Valley Fever. This is a small part, and I continue to focus. And people say, well, why aren't you looking at – I'm looking at all different issues, from debt, from our tax policy. But this is also an issue that's very personal here, just like the veterans are. And we can do more than one thing at a time. And this is something that we have focused on for a number of years, and it's nice to see something come to fruition that we've worked so hard at, and so many others, Dr. Johnson and others.
Yeah, once the NIH is in on it and the CDC and the rest of that's good news. That means that people at very high people with a lot of expensive machinery and a lot of know-how and a lot of really smart researchers are going to tackle valley fever.
These are the ones dealing with Ebola. These are
they're
dealing with every issue out there. But what I did was I systematically went at it differently. I went down to the CDC in Atlanta and I walked through what do they have for valley fever, but everything else. And I developed personal relationships with the directors and had them be able to come to Bakersfield. And really, coming here, they saw the detriment of what valley fever has done to so many. And it was a changing time for them as well, that they could put more focus onto it when they've got so many other things coming at them. But for them to still stay with it, I'm very appreciative.
And what the walking door to door is what we're really appreciative of. I mean, and because nobody else is. I mean, there are other people that are doing it, but the going door to door. But that's been like pulling teeth trying to get funding for all of this, hasn't it? I mean, it really
there's more than $8 million. It went through the Duke, going into KMC and others. And if people don't participate, we won't get the answers.
Right.
So what we want to do during this flu season, and we want to get to all the medical doctors. We want everybody out in the community to know, because we can't go test this someplace else that valley fever is not prevalent at. So this is the time, if you get flu symptoms or not, we want you to be part of the trial. Because one, you're going to get treated, but we're going to get answers. The real science is the best way to treat somebody with a valley fever. Not only is it going to help you, but it's going to help future generations, your children, your grandchildren, and others.
Yeah, and then we'll stamp this nonsense out. Because what happens is you get a bunch of test subjects, you figure out how to cure it, and then you sort of take that in for, well, here's what cures it, you work backwards, next thing you know, you got a vaccine, and people don't get it to begin with.
Exactly. And we've been working closely with Arizona and everywhere else, and so they've made great strides, and this is another step going to that direction.
Well, good. It's easy. And that's, look, the regional stuff is what makes Congress folks popular, because that's stuff that we care about. Look, people in the rest of the country, they do care about the debt or the security or whatever, and you do that. Yeah. But it's also nice that you remember stuff that you got to take care of back in your district.
Well, these are things that when you sit and you talk the quality of life of this district that matter, and that's what I want to focus on. And it's fortunate that I'm able to be majority leader, but why don't I utilize that to also get the attention for the stuff that are personally here? And when I can sit with the directors of those institutes, I want them to also know what's important here in Kern County.
Yeah, and especially this time, I can't even conceive of how busy you must be this time of year.
It's a little busy.
I mean, you be honest, you want this election over as much as the rest of us do.
Well, I want this election to be about issues and vision for the future.
Oh, you can forget about that right now.
Now it's just about personalities. And if we have an election just on personalities, when the election's over, regardless who wins, America's going to be upset, because they don't know which direction to go to. That's why in the House we put out what is called a Better Way, where we have an agenda. We talk about tax reform. We talk about regulation reform. I mean, these agencies have become too powerful. They legislate. They're going beyond their role. We talk about poverty. You've had 5 decades of a war on poverty, and all it's done is lock generations into poverty. We talked about where we'd go with Obamacare, that we'd repeal it and replace it. And we put out our plan to do that. Then we also talk about the standing of America around the world, because we've really, under this president, has taken a step back, and it's allowed Iran, Russia, and China to fill that void. And the world has become less safe because of that. If you watch what Putin said the other day, he's told those in Russia, if they have loved ones in other parts of the country, to bring them home to the motherland.
Yeah.
With the whole idea
that's scary language right there.
It is scary.
You're talking about a time of challenge of countries, and the lack of growth in this country has really created most of the challenge and the frustration. Growth will solve so many of America's problems, but we've got a president that wants to regulate you more, keep taxes higher, and the middle class is now worth less today than they were 8 years ago.
Yeah, who would have thought?
And you guys have got to be monitoring this situation in Yemen pretty closely, too.
You got Yemen.
Well,
when you look at Yemen, the president said a couple years ago that Yemen is an example of the good foreign policy from him. This is an example of where we should follow.
Yeah.
And Yemen has collapsed. You look at Libya, another example. You look at Syria, where he draws a red line in the sand. They cross that red line 12 times. He does nothing. Then he thinks he wants to do something about it. Russia is now back in the Middle East. They left in the 70s, and now they're back there. I mean, if you look at modern history, America looks a lot like it did in the late 70s.
Yeah.
You've got You've got now the Russia, which was the Soviet Union, invading another country. The last time a U.S. ambassador was killed on foreign soil in Afghanistan and Stevens in Libya. That's a direct reflection of the respect and the fear that other countries have of us. A president who manages the decline of America instead of the growth of America. A president who breaks ties or listens our ties with our strongest ally in the Middle East, Israel. Jimmy Carter's UN ambassador had to resign. The Prime Minister Netanyahu declined to come to America 6 months ago to meet with the president. Jimmy Carter signed the SALT II treaty. It was never ratified. This president created a Iran agreement. It should have been a treaty and never would have been ratified. Right. If you look at the participation rate in the economy, that's where how many people are participating. The current rate, I think, is 62.7%, the lowest participation rate since 1978. Jimmy Carter and Barack Obama, you know what they both have in common? They both won the Nobel Peace Prize. You know who did not? Ronald Reagan. But who brought people more freedom?
Yeah.
I mean, so there are a lot of similarities. I don't say that to depress people, but I say that to inspire people, that America can change, that one person cannot destroy this country, that in less than 8 years, once you went to the 1980, we lowered our taxes, we rebuilt our military, we rebuilt our standing and respect around the world. 2 years later, after that, the Berlin Wall collapsed. I mean, there is an opportunity here, but there is a window. You got to look past the chaos of a campaign of the last days where people throw things and people believe just because it's on the internet it's true. I'm one who will tell you that's not true.
Yeah.
And so I want to look at what's going to be able to move this country. And that's why in a better way we have a vision for the future.
So everything on the internet isn't true. We better know.
Knowing what people say about me, I could tell you it's not.
Yeah, tell me. We got to take a break. Can you hang out for a few minutes?
Yeah.
The guys in the suits out there think it's okay. We'll be right back. More with Congressman Kevin McCarthy after this. It's First Look program. It's News Talk 1180, the new 96.1 KERN. We spent the whole break talking about David Valadao, who is I have never heard a discouraging word about David Valadao.
You know, it doesn't matter what party
you
you're
haven't
in.
seen the Horta ads then.
Well, they're not true.
I mean a true discouraging word.
Yeah.
Anybody that knows him, people love that guy. It doesn't matter what party you're in. He is one of the hardest working members. He's beyond party affiliation. He really looks for common ground, and he represents that district so well.
Yeah. And he's a legit. I mean, he's an actual farmer, which leads. That's a segue. We're talking
true
to
farmer.
Congressman Kevin McCarthy. You know, good. I know he talks to you about this all the time. It's the biggest thing going on. What is the latest on the water situation?
Well, see, David passed a bill in the House. I have worked very closely with Feinstein for the last 2 terms, and every time I feel like Charlie Brown, she pulls the football out from under me when we get there. But there is an opportunity when we go back to bring up California water one more time. Because it's passed the House. It has not passed the Senate. But there is a vehicle that David's bill can become law, and we're fighting for it right now.
So, but
Nice.
you fighting for or expecting it to get? Because I mean, do people on the other coast realize just how important it is to get this water thing squared away for California? They eat fruit and vegetables back there, right?
They do not realize it. They do not realize where their fruits and vegetables come from. But more importantly, just as Californians, why do we want to let water go out to the ocean and waste it when it's so precious?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we want to store it and build more storage so California can grow? And why wouldn't we want to use that water that we've done so well of feeding the world?
Yeah.
There is an opportunity to do all that, protect the environment and everything else. All it needs is a little common sense. The idea that a little fish is stopping all this, so we say the water should go to the ocean, it's beyond me.
Yeah.
There's a way to do them both, and I understand the capability of making it happen. Well, I'm so frustrated with the Senate. You know, in the last term, we would sit down and we had meetings. Democrats and Republicans. And, you know, Republicans are in the majority in the House and the Senate. And do you know we had more Democrats? We allowed more Democrats in the meeting as we sat to work out a plan. When we got the plan finally done and we went to put it in the bill, Feinstein blew it up. After she had agreed to the bill and said to put it in the omnibus bill.
Yeah.
It was her idea. And then she criticized me. I bit my lip because water's too important to try to get it done. We're back at it this year, and we've tried something differently. You know, David Valadao sits on appropriations. This is where he is so vital to the community. I don't care what party you're in. You want David Valadao there. We've been able to put his water legislation into almost every piece of appropriation bills that pass through. So there's so many different opportunities to finally get in law. We've done great in the House. I mean, it's amazing what he's been able to do. It's the Senate that's the problem. So we're using every vehicle we can that the Senate will have to bring it up.
But back here at home, Jerry Brown, has he been friend or foe in all of this fight? With
It's interesting.
'Cause it's hard to pin him down sometimes. You know,
So I work out an agreement with Senator Feinstein. We're coming down to the last 24 hours to put it into another bill. And she calls me and says, I need to get Jerry Brown's okay. I said, well, last I checked, Jerry Brown's not a federal office holder, so I don't understand how he'd have a vote or a signature on this bill.
Right.
And she just wanted to have that happen. Well, at that time, Jerry Brown was over in Paris for the climate talks. I said, I doubt if I could get him and get his agreement in this time, but why do you bring this up to me now, right? I mean, it's just they just would put every time you came to a conclusion or an agreement, they put a new hurdle up that was almost an impossible hurdle.
Yeah.
I mean, the term before it was because Boxer wasn't around enough. It wasn't an open enough process. So then we started a very open process, and we put together, like you normally do in a bill, Democrats and Republicans negotiating. And then we get almost down to agreement. I had to go to another meeting where Senator Boxer complained she needed more Democrats in the room. I said, well, the Republicans are in the majority, and we're equal number right now. So I allowed more Democrats in the room than even Republicans. We come to a final agreement, and then they blow it up.
And there goes that football again.
Yeah.
But you keep putting out, but you have to do it because that's the job.
We have to get it done. It's too important, water here. And David Valadeo has been such a leader on this and been so successful in the House. And it's key for him on appropriations.
And I know you get this, but what people don't realize is lettuce is a security issue. When we don't grow any more of our food in the United States and we're dependent on other countries, that's a pretty tenuous situation. You don't want to be there as a country.
Just if you buy food from other countries, do you really know the sanitation, the ability of safety in this food? The other challenge I see in the world being so unsafe, I want to control our own destiny of where our food is. What we're able to grow. And from an economic point of view, it expands our horizon so much. Everybody talks about trade deficits. I'll guarantee you agriculture does not have a trade deficit. It's our ability to have a surplus everywhere else.
Yep.
And it puts a lot of people to work from all parts of life throughout this valley.
Keep getting us in. I'm picturing you out there making this impassioned plea for water storage and everything out here. And a senator from Massachusetts just staring at you like, what are you even talking about? We're hip deep in water.
Well, see, that is what in other parts of the country there's so much water. But we have made this case so well in the House. We've been able to pass this with people from the East Coast and the West Coast. And they're always together on this. Which difficulty is we have two senators from California, and they've never been able to pass a water bill.
Yeah, and that's
and they've been in the majority, and I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't really get it either. Well, keep up. First of all, thanks for coming out and hanging out with us. I know your time is incredibly valuable, and we appreciate it. We really do. And I'm like you, looking forward to the end of this election. I know you're well traveled. You're getting a flyer. You're putting in some frequent flyer miles, aren't you?
Yeah, my butt's getting bigger. Yes.
Yeah. Airplane food.
There's your quote of the day.
No, people don't realize. They think about like presidential candidates but everybody out there, especially a high-ranking member of either party like you are, there's a lot goes into it. Like how many stops are you going to make today? How many states are you going to be in today?
I'll be in 3 states today.
See,
wow.
And that's and it's like that right through the end.
Yeah, we'll be here in Bakersfield to a little lunchtime. I'll be in Denver tonight, and then we'll go to Salt Lake City.
Okay, well, don't talk to really anybody in the media because the trap now is, you know what this is? It's to get any high-ranking Republican.
Aren't you in the media?
Yeah, but I know better than to try to. I don't want to lash you to something that Donald Trump said once upon a time.
And if you're in town for the election, you got to come by and see us at least for a few minutes because we'd love to. Because that's going to be a day of days. You know,
that will be a crazy day.
It is going to be a crazy day.
You gotta look back. You got to take a deep breath, and you got to think, what does this world look for in the future?
Yeah.
And you want to make the House to be strong with a strong agenda. You got the Supreme Court, and you've got probably 3 appointments in the next presidency.
Yeah.
And that lasts longer than 8 years. Those are decades the Supreme Court justice lasts, and what the future holds. Think of the check and balance of what you want and what this president has done and how many times that has gone to the Supreme Court to make a decision. I mean, this president was a constitutional attorney, but the Supreme Court has made decisions that were 9-0 against him on actions that he had taken.
Yeah, thank you for coming down. See if you can get Paul Ryan to come on the show sometime.
You got it.
Still want to get that done. I like that guy.
He's awesome.
Congressman Kent McCarthy, it's good to see you as always. Thanks for taking the time. It's a big deal to us, so We appreciate it. When we get back, we'll go directly from that to I Street. That's a jump. That's a leap right there. We'll be right back. First Look, News Talk 1180, the new 96.1 KERN. We're streaming live on the internet at Bakersfield.com.